We're going to bake the cake in 3 8-inch straight-sided cake pans. This has been buttered, lined with parchment, and buttered again, and floured. So prepare your cake pans, get them out of the way. So first, sift your dry ingredients. 2½ cups of cake flour. Notice that I am dipping and scooping and then leveling. You want a very fine crumb. And because the cake flour has less protein, which gives you a coarser crumb cake, you should use cake flour. So 2½ cups, 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup and 1/4 of a cup. And again, remember, if you put your dry ingredients in big jars like this, it really makes baking much easier. So there's our flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of coarse salt. 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon. Whisk all your dry ingredients together, and you're ready to use these in your cake. Now, cream your butter. 1 stick of butter, which is 1/2 cup, and 1/2 cup of shortening. Get that mixed up, and sugar, 1 3/4 of a cup. And remember, this is enough batter to fill 3 layers, and it is a sweet cake. That's the half, and now the last quarter, 1 3/4 cups. And add 2 tablespoons of vanilla. Again, sounds like a lot, but we want a flavorful cake. And that looks good. 1 egg, just 1 egg. And now the wet ingredients to add alternately with your dry, 1/2 cup of buttermilk and 1/2 cup of whole milk and 1 cup of ice cold water. So add dry, wet, dry, wet. So here's our batter. Very, very nice. It's going to get even lighter and fluffier by adding 3 egg whites that are beaten to soft peaks with 1/4 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. These are beating, and here are our sprinkles. Decided for this particular cake, which is for a child, to use pink, green, white, yellow, and lavender. And here is just some of the many, many colors that sprinkles come in. So you sprinkle the sprinkles on top of your batter and fold them in gently with a spatula. You want sprinkles throughout the batter, and they sort of disperse very nicely. And because they're well coated and stable, they do not leach their color into the batter, and they stay pretty nice. Don't overbeat your egg whites. You want to keep them fluffy and airy, but not dry, because they won't fold in and they won't do their job. Add your egg whites, all of them, and fold them into your batter. Now remember too, when you're beating egg whites, to make sure that the bowl is impeccably clean, kind of like right out of the dishwasher is best, because any little bit of grease or butter in the bowl will prevent the egg whites from reaching their optimum volume as you're beating them. So make sure. Now see how I'm cutting down through the center and turning the bowl at the same time to get the egg whites all the way through your batter. I like making birthday cakes, and we always try in our family to make something that is delightful, fun, not too elaborate, and that everybody's going to enjoy. So now I want to divide this evenly, so I'm going to just spoon into each pan. 1. You could use a scale. Scale works very well to make sure you get the right amount of batter in each. So now into a 325-degree oven. Rotate the pans halfway, about 20 minutes, because you're going to keep these in for approximately 40 to 45 minutes until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. So this is what the cakes look like when they are cooled. Beautiful golden brown sides, perfect top. But still, because you want a nice, even cake, if there is any roundness on the top, use a serrated knife and just take off that little excess bump on the top of your cake. And I know somebody who's going to just love to snack on that We have 6 cups of a Swiss meringue buttercream. And I don't know how many of you have a turntable like this, but invest in one. It saves so much time and really makes cake decorating a pleasure. So the next layer, this cake is so nice because it does really hold up well. Make sure no crumbs. It's a cute cake. And the bottom layer is on a round of cardboard, so that will make it very easy to lift up onto a cake stand. Okay, so all the rest of this frosting is going to coat the cake. And we want a nice, smooth, even coating onto which we're going to impress our sprinkles. So it's very easy to completely cover this cake with the frosting. Just keep turning and smoothing. Okay, this looks good. Notice how I'm holding the offset spatula at a 90-degree angle so that the sides are all perpendicular. So stick this right in the fridge just for a few moments to get it a little bit firmer, then press in your sprinkles. So now, sprinkles. Sprinkle, sprinkle, all over. So pretty. And notice I have the cake on a baking sheet because you want the excess sprinkles to fall somewhere and not all over your kitchen. But so pretty. And on the sides, you just hold them in your hand and press. But it is kind of important to chill a little bit because if it's too soft, you will get the icing all over your hands. So fun to do this. And what a wonderful result. I love the colors. So there. Now you can just run your little spatula. Now remember, this cake is on a cardboard, so it will be very easy to lift. And slide a spatula underneath your cake and transfer to a cake stand. Let's begin with the streusel topping, which of course is very important on any coffee cake. In a medium bowl, mix together 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of coarse salt, and 3/4 of a cup of light brown sugar, densely packed. Make sure there are no lumps. Mix this all together and cut in 1 1/2 sticks of unsalted, icy cold butter, cut into small cubes, and cut that in as if you were making a pastry dough. You want this streusel to form nice, big, fat lumps. So you see as the butter softens, it kind of melts the sugar a little bit, and even the color changes for the streusel. If you have a warm kitchen, get the streusel right into a refrigerator to keep it cold. So now the lemons, how do we prepare them? We were using 5 lemons. We've cut off the stem end and the tip end. And you just put them into simmering water. We're going to boil any of the bitterness out of the lemons. And they're sliced into, maybe 10 or 12 slices each. Do this once, remove to a parchment-lined baking sheet, change the water, and then simmer them again. So in a large bowl, this is the batter for our coffee cake. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. Whisk that together, and you should have by now, while your lemons were poaching and becoming more mellow, buttered very generously a tube pan like this, which is like an angel food cake pan with a removable center. And now to mix the rest of the batter. Cream 1 stick of butter, and that should be pretty much at room temperature so it's nice and soft, and 1 cup of granulated sugar. This is a very nice, simple sour cream coffee cake batter. Cream that. We have 3 tablespoons of Meyer lemon zest, grated from about 4 or 5 Meyer lemons. And add that right into your sugar and butter. And you can add 2 eggs, 1 at a time. and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then add your sour cream. You have 1 cup of good quality sour cream. And add flour, sour cream, flour, end with sour cream. And don't beat it too much, just enough to make sure everything is incorporated. Now spoon half the batter into the bottom of your tube pan. And now put lemons all the way around on top of the batter. You really want to cut through a layer of gorgeous flavor. There. That looks very good. And another layer of batter. So now the next layer of lemons. Lovely. And now streusel. And you can do this with your hands if you like. Get that right into your 350-degree preheated oven. Bake for about 55 minutes until the cake is golden brown. And when you insert a toothpick or a cake tester into the center, it comes out clean. So cool the cake in the pan for 10 or 12 minutes. Release it onto a rack and let it cool completely. And just before serving, sift 1 cup of confectioner's sugar and mix in 3 to 4 tablespoons of Meyer lemon juice. You want a nice opaque white glaze. And that looks good. No lumps. And with a spoon, just drizzle back and forth over the cake. This caramel cake, with its irresistible combination of tender vanilla cake layers and rich frosting, soon became a Southern favorite. In the bowl of a stand mixer, put 2 sticks of unsalted butter. Room temperature butter, look how easily it beats. Add 1 cup of granulated sugar. This is a sweet cake, as you will see. And 2 cups of dark brown sugar. Pack the sugar. And 1. Get that going. And a 2nd cup. There. And let that get nice and creamy. And we're going to add 6 eggs, 1 at a time. And there goes the 6th. Add to this mixture 1 tablespoon of the best vanilla you can find. While this beats, 3 cups cake flour, not the self-rising kind. We're adding our own leavening agents. Half a teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Turn the mixer on low. And we have a cup of sour cream already measured. Alternate the addition of flour and cream. So add every little bit of your sour cream. And then finish up with your flour. So this makes 2 8-inch layers. The pans have been buttered, lined with parchment in the bottom, and then buttered again and floured. Try to divide as evenly as possible. Quickly press the batter with an offset spatula like this. And now we can put these right into a 325-degree oven, preheated until a toothpick comes out clean. That'll take 50 minutes. And I'm baking right in the middle of the oven. And now for the filling that makes this caramel cake a caramel cake. In a small saucepan, I've put a 1/2 cup of sugar and I am heating it over a low flame so that it just starts to get a little bit of an amber color. And in this saucepan, 2 cups of granular sugar and 1 cup of heavy cream. And 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And you can add the butter here too and turn your heat on to kind of medium. Oh, look how this sugar is melting. Ah. And what I'm going to do is add this cream mixture to our simple sugar mixture, stirring all the time. Just add this to this. And that is going to be our beautiful caramel mixture. Stir all together. See that lovely caramel color? Get this on medium-high heat, watching so that it does not overboil. The mixture is now at softball stage, 238 degrees. Remove your candy thermometer. This thermometer is going to go down the side of the bowl, and this mixture is going to be poured right into the bowl. What we really want to do is cool this mixture to 200 degrees. That's going to take approximately 20 minutes. At 200 degrees, and use the flat beater, and while beating, add 1 teaspoon of the very best vanilla. It's going to take about 6 minutes to get thickened. And so this looks exactly right. Turn it off and just leave it in this bowl until it really cools. So now for the caramel whipped cream frosting. In a saucepan, add a half a cup of sugar and 2 tablespoons of water. Add a pinch of salt. Now, over medium-high heat, melt the sugar in that little bit of water and cook until a beautiful amber color is achieved. That'll take a few minutes. Ah, beautiful. What a lovely amber. I'm going to turn the heat off while I add my heavy cream. And just add the cream very slowly. It has a tendency to bubble up. You can see it bubbling up. And once it cools, the caramel, stir. So now we have a lovely caramel colored cream. Turn the heat back on and cook until all the caramel is melted into the cream. And now the cream has to be chilled, very cold, before you can whip it. And what I like to do is just cool it right in an ice bath like this. Let it sit, just stirring it occasionally. Now our filling is cool, and we have to cut this into thirds. And once you've apportioned your filling, you can just roll it into each piece into an 8-inch circle. These are actually getting very soft. You could put this in the refrigerator just for a moment to firm up a little bit. But there's one 8-inch, and proceed to get all 3 done. And now the cake itself. As it baked, it kind of went over the edge a little bit. Cut these edges off. They're too crispy. Don't throw them away. Eat the scraps. So that's one layer. And trim the second layer. And you take off this rough top layer, which is almost like a cookie, so dole it out. Now cut this layer into 2 rounds. And it's really best to turn the cake and make sure your knife that's cutting is halfway through the layer. Very nice. And then you can lift this layer to the rack. And now repeat and do the same thing. And now we're ready to apply our caramel filling. Take this over and lay it on. And release the parchment paper. And I would just fold under the edge. And then your next layer. And the last layer of caramel. And the caramel whipped cream is whipped and staying chilled in the refrigerator. Top this with the last layer, ready to frost. So that's the color of the whipped cream. I love the texture. I love the taste. We want to make sure the sides get covered. Take the cream down the sides. This spreads beautifully. And when this is put into the refrigerator, don't fret because it does get a little darker in color. The caramel looks more like caramel. I think that's beautiful. Now just release the papers. And all the mess that's on the paper would have been on the cake stand. It's the coconut cream that I added and toasted coconut on top that makes this dessert really unique. So, cream together 2 sticks of unsalted butter, 1½ cups of granulated sugar, 4 large eggs, one at a time, and I'm going to add the zest of 2 lemons. So there, that looks good. And I'm going to keep this on very low while I sift the dry ingredients. Now, oftentimes you'll see me just whisking for sifting, but this cake I want really, really delicate. So I'm going to sift the flour first, measure it, then sift it again with the leavening and the salt. So the recipe calls for 2 3/4 cups of 00 flour. 00 flour will give you a very, very light crumb, and it will give a different texture cake. So 2 3/4. So sift through a sieve. Now, if you didn't sift, look what you might get, lumps in your batter. So make sure you get every single lump out. And now we're going to remeasure into another bowl the 2 3/4 cups. We'll see if there's anything left over. I think we're going to have some left over. So I am glad I sifted twice. There. And now 1 tablespoon of Italian baking powder. That has a little bit of a flavor to it. And a pinch of sea salt. Now sift those ingredients together. And we are ready with our dry ingredients. And it's time to fold the flour into the mixer. It smells so good with the lemon. Okay, so we have also 1/2 cup of coconut cream. So add in 3 batches the flour, a little bit of coconut cream, the flour, the coconut cream, and then the rest of the flour and the rest of the coconut cream. There we have a beautiful batter. Now we have a bundt pan, all buttered very nicely, and we put the batter right into the buttered bundt pan. Your oven should be heated to 325 degrees. This cake gets a really beautiful golden brown color. When you turn it out of the pan, it is darker than you would expect. Spread this evenly. Just pop it into your oven. The cake will bake for about 45 minutes, and then you must cool it in the pan for another 30 minutes or so on a rack. So here's the cake. It really is a beautiful color, and I know it's going to be a beautiful shape. The last thing you do before you turn it out is to completely soak it with a lemon syrup. So it's 1/3 cup of lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, 1/4 cup of sugar. You can use extra fine, or you could use just granulated sugar, and 1/2 cup of water. Now it seems like, very, very wet, but it does extraordinary things to this cake. So we want to brush it on all over the top of the cake, and it will drip down through the cake and really make it more moist than it is right now. And you do this over a period of 1/2 hour. Just keep brushing it. So let that soak in. Do it again, every few minutes, just until you use up all of the syrup. So right before serving, dollops of whipped cream right on the crown of the cake. And we have some coconut toasted lightly in the oven. Really takes just a couple minutes in a 300 oven to toast the coconut. So each slice will get some cream and some coconut in addition to this delectable cake. And sprinkle with the coconut. So pretty. Perfect for any occasion or no occasion whatsoever. Really nice.